Hello everyone, this is Dragon Videos. I hope you're all doing well and as well as enjoying the first summer in a long while. Anyway, this is going to be a brand new Symbolism video, and I know it has been a while since I've done some of these. Anyway, I normally don't do anything outside movies and TV, but I thought to make an exception with this particular video game. Mostly because it focuses on the concept of marriage and divorce, as well as what it means to have a loving relationship. And that's basically marriage in a nutshell. It's dealing with the ups and downs and having a good commitment. It's not always there for everyone, but if you try to make it work, it can happen. And this is exactly what has happened with these two. It Takes Two is a video game that focuses on the story about May and Cody Goodwin, a young couple that's going to divorce due to some of the issues they were facing throughout their daily lives and felt like it was better to just go their separate ways. However, their daughter Rose wasn't exactly fond of that idea. She thought that their fighting was her fault, and then she felt like it would be better if these two stopped fighting. But she didn't know how, and her only hope of ever getting that to happen was actually a book called Dr. Hakim's Book of Love, and unwittingly created two dolls that reminded her of her parents, May and Cody Goodwin, in hopes that they would have a good relationship. And sometime later, the duo awake to find themselves in their respective doll bodies, with practically the size of, I think, no bigger than your thumb, and then of course having to deal with the consequences that come with it. And they are literally in a big world. No, literally, since they shrunk down, their world has become bigger than they imagined, as well as encountering characters that they never thought or dreamed would be possible. So, in this video, I decided to go over some hidden concepts that are found throughout the game, and what they represent in terms of what this game is trying to message throughout the entire time the players are going to go through this. If you're looking for the gameplay, I'm afraid this is not for you. Cody is the stay-at-home dad of the couple. He looks after Rose and tries to do whatever he can to maintain the household, while May's away doing work. He's a very easygoing guy who's very flexible whenever the situation calls for it. He's also understanding the situation a little better than he is. I feel like his clay-like body just represents of just how free-going he is. His problems kind of just roll off and he's able to take on the shape of the situation, kind of like of how clay itself can take on any shape that you do by hand. As for May, she is a little bit more of the duteous one, trying to make sure everything is prim and proper in the household. But she's very fiery and not afraid to share her opinions with everyone, as well as trying to make sure that Cody doesn't do anything too wily. I feel like in this case it definitely represents more of her body form with this wooden doll. Wood is basically very firm compared to clay. You know that saying, knock on wood? She always tries to make sure everything goes alright, especially when she comes home after a long day of work. She's very rigid and is probably harder when it comes to certain situations. And in some cases, She has been known to be a little insensitive at times. Like, if some of you have gotten to the part with the squirrels, you probably know what I'm talking about at this point. As well as she does try to put in the mechanics work of everything. So I also feel like more of their personalities are reflected based on the powers that each of them have. And for example, with this fantasy costume deal, Cody is an ice magician, which would make sense because he has the capability of going with the flow. He's cool, calm, and collected, as well as he was able to understand the fact that this was kind of magic based compared to anything else. Well, with May, she was more blunt with anything, which is her fire powers. So throughout most of their experience, their unity together was a bit challenged, and of course they always say opposites attract. So they had to make their oppositions work in a way where it was basically healthy, because as they continued on their adventure together, they begin to realize of how their arguing is suffering poor Rose emotionally if not mentally, which I'm going to discuss later on in this video. Dr. Hakim's Book of Love. He always seems to come off as pretty much antagonistic, wanting nothing more to keep May and Cody from achieving their goal of reaching their daughter. And he always does summoning the boss as well as it make it difficult for them. Though to be fair, it is a little understandable of why he does so, but that's for later. Still didn't exactly change the fact that the more that Cody and May tried to go forward, the more he was up in their face. And boy, does he have a tendency of doing that a lot. It definitely makes him a little creepy, but at the same time, it kind of reminds me of the characters like VeggieTales who try to help you and guide you. And that's exactly what Hakim does once May and Cody listen to him. He basically tries to make them go through 4 important lessons, 2 of them which are their own passion, the time, and their attraction. With each lesson, we finally got the idea of what Dr. Hakim was trying to come up with. He wants them to realize of how their relationship is important, that to focus on the present, as well as making sure that you remember to appreciate and respect each other, as well as remembering to be there with your passions as well. And this is probably where I feel like Dr. Hakim, or the book, represents the voice of reason. Someone who says, get your relationship removed so you could have a relationship. Relationships, but definitely something I would probably use for basically horrible relationships, which you'll probably hear a little bit later in the future. Anyway, Dr. Hakim tries to make May and Cody realize that there is a way to fix their relationship without always having to rely on the possibility of divorce as their only way out. It's just more of learning of how to restart their marriage in a positive way. Moon Baboon is Rose's special toy. The reason why I say that because it's a little like Toy Story where Woody would watch over Andy. With Mo Baboon, he watches over Rose and recognizes some of the mental as well as emotional issues that go through Rose, and has been observing her. Even though Cody and May find that a little creepy, it is understandable that he seems to pay attention to Rose's needs more than they do. Monkeys are known to be one of the symbols of wisdom as well as primates. They just basically are very intelligent animals that have a social hierarchy. And I feel in some ways this represents Rose's consciousness, that self-awareness that she's not okay, and that her feelings are being suppressed, and Moo Baboon is practically that hidden part of the emotion that's like, hey, Mom and Dad, get your act together. You're making Rose worse. You're making me worse. And of course, you have Cutie the elephant. Out of all the toys that Rose could have done, like bunny, dog, kitty, elephant was chosen. And I feel like it's chosen for a reason, not just because elephants are cute, but I feel like this also is another representation of Rose as a whole. Rose's softer, more playful side. After all, Cutie was very warm and hospitable to them, despite the fact that she was nearly gonna die. As well as the fact that as they tear her apart, poor Cutie had her ears being torn off as well as falling apart entirely before being shoved off. So I feel like there's a big reason why they put that scene in there, though I'm pretty sure many people would have felt like this was the most messed up thing they ever put in writing. Anyway, elephants are known to represent strength as well as wisdom and stability. In this case, Rose is experiencing some instability, not only with herself, but also with her parents constantly fighting one another in more ways than one. So when they keep arguing, the more she feels like she's gonna fall apart, as well as just break off her facade. And of course, that devastating scene with poor Cutie was definitely representing Rose just finally breaking down and having incapability of enduring the emotional pain that her parents were unknowingly inflicting her. So congratulations, you two. You are practically the douchebags for practically destroying your daughter's toy in hopes she would cry. And apparently it did not work in your favor, now did it? Which definitely probably gave you douchebags of the year, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, both of these toys represented Rose's heart. She wanted her parents to get together, to stop fighting and actually making their relationship work. Divorce has been common as of recently. I'm not saying divorce should be banned altogether. Marriage is very complicated, and sometimes with kids like Rose, they know what's going on and they're smarter than they appear. And Rose just wants her parents to recognize that, but she had issues communicating that as a whole. So these are my thoughts in the hidden symbolism of this video game. What do you think? Is there more than what I'm catching on in this game? Or is there anything else you want to look through? Feel free to do a comment, subscribe, as well as do a like. This is Dragon Videos signing off.